Hi, welcome to the burn map tutorial. I'm Trent Blizzard, and I want to spend 15 or 20 minutes walking you through our 2024 burn map package and show you all the cool features we have in here this year that really go beyond just burn maps and have lots of other good Morel stuff in there. So here we are. Here's what you see when you log in and click in. You may notice some differences. First of all, we have the entire country here and Canada and also Alaska up in here with burns and burn data. So we have a lot. And if you click in here, you can see we have all the states. So, if you're looking for burns in northern Michigan or Wisconsin or North Carolina, you can find them here. Now, on our map, though, we really focus on here on this drop down. You can see the order. We really focus on the West because that's where most of the burn morale action is happening. And so far this year, we have Alaska and British Columbia, but we don't have Alberta, Yukon, or Northwest Territories. We usually get those in a little bit later in the year. So we also do not curate those. So for the Washington, Oregon, California, Colorado, all the states in the West there, I go through and look at every burn and classify them on an A through D system, which I'll show you in a sec how to use that. So everything is here. Here's your zoom controls. This number right here will uh, tell you how far you're zoomed in. This little map icon, if you click that, it will geolocate you on the map. So especially if you're on a mobile device, that can be handy. And here's our scale. If you wonder how many miles or kilometers an inch represents, that's pretty awesome. You can use that. So let's hop in here first and start at the top with base maps because no matter what you're doing in here, you're gonna want to look at these base maps. So we got four of them. You're looking at terrain right now. It's a nice blend of maps and topography. We have strictly a road map, which is going to have a lot more cities and road information and um, kind of help you geolocate here. We have our satellite view, which you're going to use, especially when you're checking out fires in here and trying to look at the trees that might be part of that fire and make decisions. And we've got our Forest Service topo map, which is pretty fun too. And that's the one I usually use. I'll just pop in real quick here, zoom in, and you can see the topo map is going to have campgrounds and topography and U.S. Forest Service roads, and all these little dots are usually houses and public land. The white is where there's no trees. The green is where there are trees. It has lines on it to indicate where wilderness areas begin and end. It's a pretty good map for your basic research. So we spend most of our time right here. I'm going to pop back over to roadmap just because it's easier to kind of visualize where we're at right now using that roadmap. I'm in Oregon right now. And I'm gonna close that down and talk a little bit about the layers that we have here. The primary layer that we have is the 2024 fire perimeter layer, and that's the one that is going to be across the whole country. What you get to select here is which state do you want to show markers for. So you can pick California, and it's going to zoom into California and show you all the markers for all the fires that I've rated from A through D. I toss out anything that's smaller than a couple of acres. I don't track those, and then I rank them. And A fires in the West have several common features. Number one is they have trees, good trees that you're gonna find morels in. They're accessible. You can get to them by car without a huge hike. They're public, so you're allowed to pick there. They're not tribal, they're not national park, they're not private. They may have private land interlaced in them, so you're going to want to pay attention to that. The other factors that can go into it beyond that is how big they are can help. The bigger the fire, the more opportunity to find unique habitats in the fire that have burn that might have morels. And elevation can play a part. Sometimes a fire looks good on paper, and then you study it and the elevation might be too low. The other thing that's worth noting, and there's a lot of kind of wilderness fires that get booted out of the A rating. They look good, but they're in wilderness, and you probably can't pick there in the first place, even if you can get to it. So that's the rating system. I would just pick A here. That's where we're going to mostly hunt. I will say for those of you that are hikers, especially, there are some really world-class bee fires all around the West. And a bee fire is often a bee. It might be a little smaller, but if it's 2 or 3 or 4 miles deep into the forest and you got to hike into it, it could be a wonderful burn. But I still rate it a bee. So if you're a hiker, check out the bees. You can find some real winners in there for sure. Okay, so let's zoom in on this. No, let's not zoom in on this yet. Let's talk about the other important overlays. When you go to overlays over here, I have these stewardship ones, and I have 4 years of stewardship in here. And notice there's only 1 year burns. If you want to see a second or third year burn, you have to leave this map and go to last year's map to see that there. But in here, I put all 4 years of stewardship, which are logging type activity, timber thins, um, anything they're working in the forest and creating disturbances. And morels love these, and a lot of serious morel hunters like to target these disruption zones. Now, these are disruption morels, are not burn morels, but they can be absolutely prolific in these areas. And I think the point is a first, second, third year disturbances can be pretty productive. Um, so don't get all caught up on these stewardship areas. If you find one that's 2 years old, check it out. A lot of people like areas that were logged 2 years ago instead of just last year. So that's what these are. I'm just going to click them. They're color coded. They'll turn on, and you can see now all across the West, you've got all these places that are lit up with places that have been logged. And you can zoom in and you can click on any of them, and they'll give you some details about what happened there. This one was a commercial thinning. It used tractor logging. I mean, that's the good stuff right there. When they got tractors in the woods and they're cutting out trees and they're thinning trees, which means they're also leaving a lot of trees to create the shade. And it's a 58-acre area. So if you don't have a burn near you, this can be a really what you want to be focused on are these forestry maps. And I do think among a lot of serious morel hunters, they're kind of a secret, and they don't talk about it, but that's where they're filling their baskets if they're not in a fire or in these. So let's turn these off. And start working through some of the other overlays that you can use to find morel. So I'm going to go back and find this nice fire right here, which is east of San Francisco. Now, when you're in here, and I lost it there. There we go. If you click on the perimeter, it's going to show you some fire perimeter details, including how much forest acreage you have, how much public acreage, the total fire acreage. So it's almost 8,000 out of 8,600 acres are public. What I ranked it at, the elevation range, so you can kind of know whether it's high or low and what season you might want to be there. If you click on the map flame icon, similar information. Here's the rating, the name, and the elevation range, my comments on the fire, and some more information similar with forest acreage and stuff like that. Okay, so let me go back here. And now if you want to get some more information about this fire, you would typically come in and maybe work through the base maps and the road maps and stuff. But you might start with this morel probability is a really fun map, especially if you're a beginner and you haven't really learned how to read these maps and find morels. What we've done here is we've color coded the areas that show the most promise. And this will help you find areas that hopefully aren't too steep and that have a lot of trees and tend to have more northerly exposures in them. Doesn't mean you have to pick here, but usually the moderate and high are where we spend most of our time when we're in these fires. And that's just from driving around and looking at it. We happen to know that these just tend to work out best. So this might help you. On this fire, you can see this whole northern half of the fire has a lot of bright yellow and bright green. There's these ridges here that look pretty promising. And then up in this corner, there's a big bright area that also looks pretty nice. Now, if you want to see what that looks like, you can come in and come out of that and maybe come up on this Forest Service in here and look up in here, and you can see like, oh, that looks pretty flat up in there. Now it's a little steep right here. And maybe look at the satellite and see all the lovely trees up in this nice spot if you're able to get up in there. And you can see, oh, look, there's a road that goes up there too. So that can help you kind of put the pieces together as you're learning. So it's more of a maybe a beginner intermediate screen. Next, we're going to look at the burn severity screen. This can be helpful for anyone. Um, this requires a fair bit of technology to create. And what we do is we go find infrared satellite pictures from before the fire, and we compare them to infrared satellite pictures after the fire. And that infrared allows you to measure the foliage, the leaves that have been burnt, and the bigger the transition from, say, green to black, the more severe the burn. We tend to like the yellow, the low severity, and the two moderates are where we tend to spend most of our time. I will say, if even though it shows it's unburned in here, often the fire, especially when it's not a really dry year, it really creeps underneath all the trees, and you get a nice burn, and you can pick it, and it's shady, and it can be really good. So don't let this green scare you. I think the red and the purple scare me a little more. Often it's harder to find shadier spots in there, and in a dry year, the red and the purple is just useless. You can't do anything. It's too sunny and dry. But some years, morels pop like crazy in there, and we have had just totally filled our baskets before in these areas that have been totally burnt. Now that's a little rare, but at least now you have the information, and you can focus on the right kind of burn severity. Okay, this Forest Service offers a forest type map right here. We can kind of zoom it down a little bit. We got two colors running in this California burn. We've got this lavender color and this kind of orangey, salmony. I don't know what color that is, but let's just look down here and see what it is. That is fir, spruce, mountain, hemlock group. And then the lavender, let's see what that is. That is California mixed conifer. So for California, that's pretty good. I think you would say these are the type of trees that you want to be in. And this map can be pretty handy because in some states you really care. In Arizona, you may care whether it's a ponderosa red Doug fir forest. In Colorado, you may care whether it's a pine or a fir spruce forest as it makes that transition. And you'll see where ponderosa pines are if that's where you're chasing mushrooms. So this map can help, I think, the more advanced picker who really is trying to find certain forest types. So there's that. We have our motor vehicle routes. This is for everybody. I like this map a lot. This comes from the Forest Service, and they don't have it for every region in the country. So you may go into an area where these particular road maps don't occur. They're not available. But most have them. And this is provided by the Forest Service. They're called MVUM, Motor Vehicle Use Maps. And they have a lot of information in them and are a great kind of research tool to figure out different roads that you might be able to get into a fire. And often when you see them on this map and it ends and it continues on the old map, usually this map is more accurate. And the reason is this map is updated pretty regularly. The Forest Service map that's the base map is about 10 years old. So some of those roads don't even exist anymore. So I like to cross-reference with this as I'm doing my research. So that is a motor vehicle routes map. You can see the key over here on the left. The snow depth map, I'm going to zoom out a little bit on this. This is a neat map. This is like today. This is up to the day. So as you come in here in the spring, you will see the snow receding. And this is a valuable map as you plan. And maybe if you're more of an advanced planner, you may be trying to find a place where the snow melted off a couple of weeks ago and is still wet and producing mushrooms, or you may want to find places you want to avoid because there's too much snow. This will help you track where the snowpack is at when you're making your plans for your hunting. So a little more of an advanced map. All right. Now I have one more map to show you, and that's the land ownership map. And this is going to allow you to check as many boxes as you want to ultimately find public land or not public land. And you can see here the green is federal. This is Forest Service. You're going to be able to pick anywhere in here. These uncolored markers right here, these are going to be private property typically, unless I come down here and I find another, another box that checks and fills it in, but that's not happening. So um, that this is a map that you can use to just tell whether you're allowed to pick there or not. It will help with that. Okay, I can uncheck those. And I think that's it. We walked through all the features in this map. I hope you have a great year. And remember, I'm recording this on February 29th. And if you're looking at this in May, we probably added a few more features to this map. So if you notice little differences, it's because we're always working to add some new features. And I've got a couple up my sleeve for the next couple of weeks that I'm going to put in here that will help. So I'll make a separate video about those later. Thanks. Have a good one. Bye-bye. And like I said, happy hunting.